this leadership thing is not a one-day adventure. This leadership thing takes time. You're going to develop. You're going to create relationships. But that takes time. We have to be willing to put in the time in order for these relationships to materialize. Chad Peterman here, and you are listening to Can't Stop the Growth, a platform for leaders and teams to grow and thrive. We highlight the importance of personal development, pursuing greatness, and always chasing your potential. Let's get into it. I want to talk today about a concept that I was reviewing and really kind of reflecting on a little bit of my own journey over the last, because this is, here in a few weeks, it'll be 12 years here, which is crazy to think about, and really excited to relate what I'm going to talk about today to kind of how I've kind of navigated these things and some of the silly things that I've done over the years that looking back like, oh, okay, well, I guess I was kind of moving through that, not even knowing it. So it's based on a Maxwell podcast where he talks about, and I believe he wrote a book on this called The 5 Levels of Influence. And he talks about in the podcast that he changed it to leadership, but that he started with the title of influence mainly because people have trouble viewing themselves as leaders. And I can definitely see that. Oftentimes, if we don't have a leadership title, we don't think of ourselves as leaders. But at the end of the day, as we all navigate our lives, we're all looking to gain influence. And that doesn't mean you need to gain it to get something, but, think about it from really any perspective. Back when you were in school, you were probably trying to gain influence with your teacher. Make her think that I know what I'm talking about, or that I studied last night, even if you didn't. So we're always in this trying to develop influence. Think about it when you go to a restaurant and you tip your waiter or waitress, or you say thank you or please or whatever it may be, while you're not gaining, influence in any respect for something, you're kind of establishing your influence and who you are as a person, right? Hey, I want to be a person that's grateful and thankful and nice to people who are doing a good job, and there's a reason we have manners in this world. And so as we think about that, I think it's important as we think about how we lead people, what are the steps to leading them effectively? And that's what he lays out here, and we're going to go through. So level 1 leadership is what he calls positional leadership. So people follow you because they have to, right? So you're new here, welcome. This person's your manager. You don't know them from Adam, right? And there's no sort of, you as the leader don't have any influence. And you as the quote unquote follower, I guess, you don't have any influence either. You're essentially just following because you have to. Now, oftentimes, where leadership goes off course is we as leaders, the relationship stays at this level 1. We want to be over people. We got into management because we like to tell people what to do. When I think back on my journey into this, I'll give you a little bit of color. When I first started, as many of you have heard before, I didn't know anything. I never even worked for the company during the summer. So I had no background in the business. The first time I ever looked at the website was probably 2011, looked at the website to figure out what was it that we actually did. That's how disconnected I was from the whole thing. So when I started, luckily my dad gave me a job. I called him in the summer of 11, said, hey, I think I want to move home. My current job said that I could actually move to Indianapolis and work from there, and that would be fine. And I was kind of burnt out on it and didn't really want to keep doing it. Was traveling all the time. So I called Dad and I was like, hey, I think I needed a job. You want to give me one? And he's like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, I don't really know. I guess I'll figure something out. So I was like, well, okay, what can I do? What do I even know? So I just went to like the library and just started like reading books on like how to run a business. How do you do this? And I wasn't going to run the business. Dad was in charge. I was going to have to follow him. And so like the things that I knew that I needed to do was, one, I was coming into a business. There was like 20 of us. And I was like, all right, I'm coming in. I know nothing, but obviously I'm his son, so they're going to automatically think they have to listen to me or something like that. And that's going to be really strange because I don't know what I'm talking about. And they're well aware of that. I'm aware of that. So what am I going to do? So I was like, well, I think probably the first thing that I probably need to do is probably just show up early and leave late. I'll just do that. I'll just be there. I may not be even doing anything in my office, but I'll make it look like I am. I'll just be present, just be there, and I'll just be nice to everybody, right? And so that was how I started to like move out of this level one, was just like show up. So I would get there at like 5 a.m. I'd leave at like 6 p.m. every single day. Now I wasn't like productive during those like for all 11 hours or whatever, but I tried. But I was just going to be there. I would be the first one in the parking lot, so no one at the company ever beat me to work, and they would never leave after me. Now, this was obviously before I got married and had kids and all that fun stuff. I was living on my brother's floor over by UIndy. I kid you not, I just had a mattress on the floor. That was how I was rolling. And I was just like, okay, I can just do this, and maybe this will gain some influence. Well, I haven't checked with anybody, but I think it helped. And then the next thing I did when I started, like, unfortunately, our loan salesperson quit the Friday before Memorial Day, which, as you guys well know, Memorial Day is kind of the kickoff. And it was like one of the hottest summers ever. So we were super busy, and I like came back from something, and my dad's like, hey, so-and-so quit. I was like, oh, that's not good. So he's like, well, you're going to have to like go sell jobs. I was like, I hate this. This is the worst. I despise it. I'm terrible at selling anything. And I could go into these houses and I would not ask for the sale. I would do like literally everything wrong that you were not supposed to do. But when I would sell a job, I would have, I kid you not, I would have probably 30 pictures. And at the time, we didn't have like Service Titan or anything. So I would print out 30 pictures. And they would be like laid out across my desk. And I'd like bring the installer in. I'd be like, hey, this is everything that I saw. Here's all the notes. There'd be like 3 to 4 pages of notes that I just had out. And I'm like, hey, I don't really know what we're supposed to do here. But these are all the pictures. I just thought I'd prepare you. You guys can game plan. I'll run and get stuff if we didn't order it. Whatever you need, I just want to make sure that this goes well. And the reason I did that was because I knew that the only way that they were ever going to respect me is if I did everything humanly possible to set them up for success. And I did that for every job to the point where the installers finally said, you don't need to take so many damn pictures. Like, you'll be fine. You're getting the hang of this. We'll be just fine. We'll take it from there. But that's just how I approached it because I was so scared to let them down or for them to think that, you know, oh God, here comes the boss's son who knows nothing, which I didn't know anything. But I could not separate being the boss's son. But I worked at that mainly because I didn't want people to follow me because they had to. That just seemed weird. You've seen like really bad cultures or probably worked places that like you could definitely tell the leader only just wants to stay at level 1 for the rest of their life because they enjoy telling people what to do and they think that they're somehow better than everybody else that they lead. And what I have seen in these types of organizations is, one, you have a really bad culture and people will give you the least amount of effort possible. Like literally 3:59, 4 o'clock. All right, I'm out of here. See you later. Which they should, right? I mean, as leaders, if you're at this level with your people, why would they give you any more? I wouldn't give anybody any more if that's who I was following. Everybody can probably think of a bad leader in their life, and they probably hung out at level 1 like all the time. So as we develop our leadership, we have to work out of this level. Now, the thing to remember is we start at this level with every single person we lead. You have to, right? Because someone new comes into the organization outside of their like a family member or a friend, you don't know them. They do have to follow you because they have to. Like if you want a job, this is your manager. So how do we break out of this level? Well, you could do a few of the knucklehead things that I did, but there's other things too. Why are your people potentially giving you the least amount of effort possible? Unfortunately, it may not be on them. It may be on you. And thus what we talk about, lead yourself. It's one of our core values, right? Lead yourself. So in leading yourself, how are you going to move the relationship that you have with those that you lead from level 1? How do we get out of that? How do we get to level 2, which is called permission? People follow you because they want to. How do we move people from following us because they have to they want to? Now, everybody's seen or been around, like when this transformation happens, when you get those people that are following you because they want to, you could probably run down, if you have a team, you could probably run down the list and mark who is following me because they have to and who is following me because they actually want to. And why is that? Well, it comes down to one thing. It's your relationship with that person. And the key to developing a relationship is first understanding they're never, ever going to do it like you. The biggest hurdle I see when we talk about leaders moving out of level 1 into 2 is coming to grips with the fact that they're not going to do it like you. They're not going to operate like you. They're not going to think like you. They're not going to tie their shoes like you. They're not going to do anything like you. Because guess what? Everyone is different. Leadership would be a hell of a lot easier if everybody just did it the way I did it, right? That's what we say to ourselves. But how do we move out of that? We have to understand that everybody on our team is perfect just the way they are. Because that is the way they are. They're probably not going to change that. Now, we can help them improve. We can help them get better. And sometimes those people don't. And that's okay. And they'll probably go off into greener pastures, which is fine. But for the team that we have, what would it look like to move those people into following you because they want to? It all comes down to your relationship with them. Do they know that you care? You know, a common thing in this industry, and it's very like old school thinking, is that one of the things that they used to talk about like way back when, I was like, that's really stupid. But leaders would be, especially in the trades, they'd be getting the least amount of effort out of their people. And people would talk about like culture and showing them you care and all these like fluffy things. And most leaders would come back and say, I'll show them I care. I'll give them a paycheck on Friday. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. Yep. You are a level 1 leader and you will be there for the rest of your life. Compensation is a part, that's like the trade that you give. That's just like a transaction. I give money to the lady at the Meijer counter too, and she gives me a gallon of milk. Do I have any influence with her, or is she going to give me the amount of effort it takes to scan the gallon of milk and give it to me? And then I give her money. Same thing, right? She's not going to go like over and above, nor should she. It's not about that. It's about so much more. It's about understanding that people need to know that they're cared about. People need to know that you give a damn. And guess what? It's not that hard. It takes effort. And to me, that is the biggest piece, is you have to understand that from moving from level 1 to level 2 takes effort, because you've got to build relationships with your people. You got to understand where they struggle. You got to understand where they need help. And most importantly, you got to understand that they're probably never going to do it like you. And that's okay. It's probably a good thing. There's a lot of areas of this company that it's a damn good thing that people do it differently than me, because I would suck at those positions. Accounting is one. Awful. Hate spreadsheets. Awful. Sales. Awful. Glad we have better people. Any of the trades, not any good at. Glad they don't do it like I would do it. I still can't even put salt in my softener. I don't know why that's so difficult for me. But anyway, understanding that we must listen, we must learn, and then we can lead. Someone at level 1 is never going to listen. Someone at level 1 is never going to learn. They think they're leading, but they're really not. So how do we develop these relationships? How do we show our people that we care? It really comes down to value. Do you value the people that you lead? Or are they a means to an end? Again, are you managing a result or are you managing people? At the end of the day, the hardest part about leadership is you have to give up complete control. You have to understand that your relationship is going to be built on trust. Me trusting others to do a great job. Now, if I trust them at level 1, what am I going to get? Not great results. If I trust them at level 2, they know that I care, I'm there to support them, there to help them. All of a sudden, we start getting results. And then that relationship grows over time, because all relationships take time. I met my wife when I was 13. She didn't start dating me until I was 26. Relationships take time. This leadership thing is not a one-day adventure. This leadership thing takes time. You're going to develop. You're going to create relationships. But that takes time. We have to be willing to put in the time in order for these relationships to materialize. Level 3, production. People follow you because of what you've done for the organization. So again, keep in mind, these levels, you start out at 1 with every new person that comes in and you're looking to gain influence with. You're going to start at 1, and then you're going to continue to work up. So we started at 1. They had to follow us because they had to. Level 2, they're starting to want to follow us. And in level 3 is where we gain the credibility. They understand what we've done for the company. They understand the skills that we have, and they're able to see what it is that we do on a daily basis. Again, they may not see that on day 1. They may hear it. Hey, I'm here for you. I'll be here to support you. But they need to see it. And then when they begin to see it, they understand what you're doing for the greater good. You know, when I think about this level, I think about our vivid vision that we roll out at the end of every year. Can you imagine if I would have rolled that out like week 2 in 2011? Hey guys, listen up here. New sheriff in town. Look at this bad boy. Probably wouldn't have gone over so well. Actually, that would have been terrible. And there was a time, even when we rolled the first one out in 16, that I was a little scared, right? Like if you go back and read the first one, it's kind of tempered down. It's like light. Whereas this last one, I just went all in. But the reason is because people were never going to follow that vision until I moved to this level. Like at level 1, you're just some blabbermouth talking about God knows what. Because the purpose of the vision is for people to come along that journey with you. For them to see what can be and move with you. Again, you go roll out a vision and you're rolling at level 1, that is going to fall flat on its face. And that's what I tell. We had a tour in Wednesday, and we were talking, we give them a copy of this as an example, because it's been such a critical part of our growth. And I talk about this. I'm like, this is a great starting point, but understand you got to have the culture to make this thing come alive. There's a reason we hit ours like in 365 days and it's a 3-year plan. It's because we've got a bunch of great people around here who are leading at level 3 and beyond. That's what we need. And some people look back at me and I'm like, oh boy, there is not a lot of level 3 leadership going on at your joint. I can already tell. And you can tell it by the questions that they ask, right? It's all, how do I defend against someone taking advantage of me? I go, well, I guess maybe show them that you care and maybe they won't try to take advantage of you. What do you mean? Don't they all do that? Not really. I mean, everybody's got a bad apple here and there, but for the most part, I think, no, you should be good. I was talking to a guy yesterday about another industry, and he's like, yeah, you got to watch out for those guys. Minute they see success, they're bolting and starting their own thing. Why would they do that? Well, I'm not sure. I was like, I think I know. Like, I would assume that they would want to leave because it probably sucks to work there. And it's probably one of those things where, hey, the guy that I was following was taking advantage of me, and so I'm going to go get into business and do it for myself, and I'll just take advantage. It's like an endless circle of just people taking advantage of everybody because they just live at level 1. The only reason this works is because we're all working together, not because we're barking out orders all the time. But once you move to this level 3, you're able to show people where you want to go. And when you can show people, this is where that transformational type leadership comes. Because when you're able to show them the vision, guess who changes most? You. Because very little has ever been accomplished by one singular person. So when you can lead from level 3, you're able to depict a vision, things start to grow, and you have to change. You have to begin to become a different type of leader. You have to be willing to stretch yourself, to move forward, and those people will begin to follow you. What do I always say? Leadership ain't that hard. We just continually make it hard. And we make it hard because we live at level 1. And again, you may be at level 3 with some, right? Everybody's got the rock stars, like, oh man, they're totally bought in, they're running fast, they're doing all this stuff. But then you may have those people that you're at level 1 with. And again, it's not a reflection of like, oh, you're a bad leader because you're at level 1, because we all start out at level 1 with everybody. But you have to have a willingness to move, to pull through, because it's a lot easier to lead someone at level 3 than it is 1, right? Level 1, they're giving you the least amount of effort. They're probably not showing up. They're doing stupid stuff. They've got callbacks. They got this. They got that. They're not following the process. Well, why is that? As I always say, not many people, at least I hope not, showed up here today to find out how bad they could really screw something up. So if no one showed up like that, then it's our job as the leader to help them realize, hey man, noticed you showed up late 3 days this week. What's going on? What do you got? How can I help? What do we find out a lot of times? Oh, I got something going on, or I had to get the kids on the bus. Okay, man. Well, next time, communicate that to me, and I can make arrangements, and we can make this whole thing work. Not telling me puts us in a bad spot here. So let's work through this. Let's figure this out. I want you to be so successful, but you can't be successful if everybody in the dispatch office thinks that you can't show up on time, because they're probably going to send you on not the greatest call because you have made their life miserable because they've got to talk to an angry customer that you're supposed to be at and you're not. That's how you start to move your relationship with someone from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, because then they start communicating. And then they're seeing some success. And then they're like, oh shit, they really do care about me. Like, he wanted to see me succeed. This is really cool. I like this place. Level 4, So they see your vision in 3, right? They're coming along for the journey. They're on board. They love it. And then level 4 is people development. So you roll from production. They follow you because of what you've done for the organization. And then 4 is they follow you because of what you've done for them. How can you really make an impact in someone's life? How can you start to develop the people on your team? That doesn't mean that you need to develop them so that they can get a promotion. It could in some instances, but that's going to take a minute. You're not going to develop someone and 48 hours later, they're ready for a promotion. So how do we develop them, maybe even in their current role? How could they get a little better? Where could they improve? When you start sitting down with people and having those conversations, that's when you get breakthroughs. That's when you start to understand that, like, holy cow, this is a hell of a lot bigger than plumbing or HVAC or electrical. This is where the fun happens because you get to change people's lives. In my mind, that's what we're in the business of doing. Sure, we want to put in more systems. We want to dig up more sewer lines and electrical panels and put in more water heaters. That's cool. But isn't it a lot more fun to sit here and talk about how we can get better and maybe go make an impact in someone's life? I think so. That's why I showed up this morning. Because this is a lot more fun than putting in a furnace. Yes, we all have to do the thing that the customer called us out to do. We all have to work to develop our teams. But when you can put or wrap your mind around, how do I get to level 4 with the people that I lead? How do I get to level 4 with the people that I work with, peers? What does that look like? Who am I at level 1 with? Who am I at level 2 with? Level 3? And how could I take that relationship to 4? And what would that look like for me? And what would that look like for the other person? Like, I know in this, what pains me so much, getting bigger and being able to help more people and do all of that, like, that's great. But the thing that sucks the most is when you have this many people and we're spread out all over the place, there's a lot of people in this organization that I'm at level 1 with. That sucks. And that's how you should feel about it too. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing there, right? They're literally just following me because they have to. I don't want anybody to do that. Sounds like a terrible place to work. And I don't want that. But the great thing is that if we're all striving for level 4, if we're all striving to do that, people begin to follow me because of what you've done for them. It's a stair-step effect, right? If you're a field supervisor and you can get to level 4 with your people, guess what? They're going to follow the manager. Now, the manager's going to have to put in work, but it makes it easier when everybody is working together to get to level 4. So yeah, there's a lot of people that I want to get to know more. I sit in the orientations, but we do it every other week, and it's really hard to remember names. How do we get people to follow because of what we've done for them? That is true leadership. That is the ultimate influence. What does that look like? We all know what it looks like, right? Because we all are leading in some form or fashion in our lives. There are people that we have influence over. So how did we get to that level? You didn't get there overnight. It took time. Leadership is a long game. Fortunately or unfortunately, you're never done. You'll be leading when you're 70 or 80 years old. May not be moving as fast. You may not have a manager title. I hope you don't. That's a long time to work. But you'll still be leading. You lead with every interaction that you have during the day. Every conversation, every hi, how you doing? How was your weekend? All of that is leadership. Leadership is not about ascending the corporate ladder. It's about ascending the relationship ladder with those around you. People that ascend the corporate ladder at level 1, have very, very little influence. And they probably work at a really shitty place. So what can you do to ascend that leadership ladder? Again, keep in mind, you're going to start at the bottom with every person that you meet. How can you ascend it? Who in your life do you want to be viewed at as a leader or have some influence with? It's a very simple progression. Takes time, takes effort, takes a little bit of will. But the great thing is it takes very little skill. Leadership is not something you're born with. Leadership is something that you get better at it the more work that you put in. And work doesn't mean hours on the clock like I used to think it did. Leadership means putting in effort in the relationships that you have. As I always say, it's super simple. When it gets complicated, you'll know you're doing it wrong. I didn't get to level 5 because very few people get to level 5. Level 5 is when you transcend, and there's only a few people that have ever done that. 5 is like what we're working towards, but that's like your life's work, right? That's like, hey, I've been working this leadership thing all the way to the end. So aim for level 4. Find people in your life, find people that you're leading, and work towards them following you because of what you've done for them. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to get connected, you can find me at chadmpeterman.com. To see what our team's up to, you can visit petermanbros.com. As always, keep growing out there.